A black family enters a high-end mall. The mother is dressed elegantly. Her husband and two young children walk beside her with bright smiles. They are excited to enjoy a day out shopping. But as they approach the entrance, they are stopped by a security guard named Mike Rogers. He stands tall and stern. He looks at them with suspicion and blocks their path. "You people do not belong here," he says with a cold tone. His words echo across the area. Shoppers passing by stop to look. The mother, Rebecca Carter, remains calm. Her husband tries to speak, but she raises her hand, signaling him to stop. Mike continues, "You need to leave now, or I will have to call the police." Rebecca looks him straight in the eyes. Her voice is firm, yet calm. "Do you even know who I am?" she asks. Mike laughs mockingly. He refuses to back down. But what happens next leaves everyone speechless. Let us know where you are watching from in the comments. And do not forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories. Stay with us to see how this story unfolds. Rebecca Carter is a well-known businesswoman and philanthropist. She owns several high-end malls across the country. Despite her success, she is humble and deeply committed to her family. Rebecca is a mother of two and a loving wife. Her family enjoys a close bond, and she often takes her children to the mall to teach them the value of hard work and kindness. Today, Rebecca plans to spend quality time with her family. She decides to visit one of the malls she owns. Her husband, David, and their two children, Mia and Jason, are excited about the outing. The family dresses smartly and heads out with smiles on their faces. The mall is located in a busy city known for its luxury stores and high-profile clientele. Its elegant design and sparkling interiors attract many visitors. However, the town has deep divisions. Racial prejudice still lurks beneath the surface. Mike Rogers, a security guard at the mall, has a reputation for being overly suspicious of people he deems out of place. He sees Rebecca and her family approaching and immediately makes assumptions based on their appearance. Mike steps forward. He blocks their path with a serious expression. Rebecca and her family stop, confused by his sudden interference. What begins as a casual family outing quickly turns into a moment of tension that could change everything. Rebecca and her family arrive at the mall with excitement. Her children hold her hands as they enter through the grand glass doors. The atmosphere inside is lively with shoppers enjoying the luxurious stores and restaurants. As they approach the main hall, security guard Mike Rogers notices them. He narrows his eyes and immediately walks toward them. Rebecca greets him politely, but Mike's tone is cold. He asks, "What are you doing here?" Rebecca is taken aback but remains calm. She replies, "We are here for some shopping." Mike glances at her family and frowns. He points to the entrance and says, "You need to leave. This is not the place for you." Rebecca's husband, David, tries to reason with Mike. "We have done nothing wrong. Why are you asking us to leave?" But Mike ignores his words and insists that they leave immediately. Shoppers nearby stop to watch. Some pull out their phones to record the scene. Rebecca notices the judgmental looks from some of the onlookers. She feels anger and sadness but stays composed. Mia and Jason hold tightly to their mother, sensing the tension. Rebecca kneels down to comfort them and assures them everything will be fine. She then stands up and calmly asks Mike, "Why are you treating us this way?" Mike's response is dismissive. He accuses them of causing a disturbance, though it is clear to everyone that they are simply a family out shopping. Rebecca asks to speak to the mall manager, but Mike smirks and says, "I am in charge here. Leave before I call the police." The crowd around them grows larger. Some people voice their support for Rebecca, while others remain silent. David places his hand on Rebecca's shoulder, signaling that he trusts her to handle the situation. Rebecca stands tall. She refuses to back down and calmly says, "We will not leave because we have every right to be here. And you, sir, will regret how you have treated us today." Her firm response shocks Mike, but he does not relent. The tension rises as more people gather to watch. The situation is no longer just a personal conflict. It has become a public display of discrimination. Rebecca remained calm as the tension around her grew. The security guard, Mike, was clearly frustrated. His body language grew tense, and his tone became sharper. He grabbed his radio and called for backup. Within moments, 2 additional guards arrived, standing tall beside Mike, forming a wall of authority against Rebecca and her family as if they were dangerous criminals. Rebecca's husband, David, stepped forward in an attempt to de-escalate the situation. He spoke firmly but respectfully. "This is unacceptable. We came here as customers, just like everyone else. Your behavior is not justified." Mike smirked, dismissing David's words. "People like you do not belong here," he said coldly. His tone carried an edge of superiority, making his intentions clear. Rebecca could feel her children, Mia and Jason, gripping her hands tightly. They were scared, their wide eyes searching their mother's face for reassurance. Rebecca, refusing to back down, scanned the growing crowd around them. Her voice was steady and clear as she addressed the onlookers. "Is this the treatment we accept in this place? Is this how anyone should be treated, simply for how they look or who they are?" Words stirred something in the bystanders. A few nodded in agreement, but most remained silent, unsure of how to react. Suddenly, a woman stepped forward. Her voice was hesitant at first, but grew stronger as she spoke. "This is not right. They are not doing anything wrong. Why are they being treated this way?" Encouraged by the woman's support, others began murmuring. The atmosphere shifted slightly, a mix of tension and budding resistance to the injustice unfolding before them. The security guards, however, showed no signs of backing down. One of the backup guards stepped forward and addressed Rebecca. "If you do not leave, we will have to remove you by force," he said firmly. Rebecca took a deep breath, steadying herself. She looked down at her children, then back at the guards with unshaken resolve. "We will not leave," she said firmly. "We have done nothing wrong. If you believe otherwise, call the mall manager. Let them explain why we are being treated this way." The guards exchanged uneasy glances, but Mike refused. "We do not need to call anyone," he sneered. "You are the problem, and you are disrupting the peace here." Rebecca, unfazed by his intimidation, calmly pulled out her phone and began recording. Her husband, David, followed her lead and started filming as well. "We are documenting this," Rebecca said, her voice cutting through the tension. "Let everyone see exactly what you are doing." The guards stiffened as they realized the situation was becoming increasingly public. Members of the crowd began pulling out their phones as well, capturing the confrontation. One man shouted, "This is unacceptable. Let them shop in peace." Mike turned back to Rebecca with a mix of frustration and defiance. "We have rules here," he said loudly, as if trying to justify his actions to the crowd. "If you cannot follow the rules, you need to leave." Rebecca tilted her head slightly, her expression calm but pointed. "What rule have we broken?" she asked. "You have not answered that question yet." A young teenager in the crowd, emboldened by Rebecca's courage, shouted, "This is racism." "It is wrong." His words resonated with others, sparking a wave of murmurs and small shouts of agreement. Tension in the air thickened. Rebecca could see the guards growing more uncomfortable. Mike's smirk had faded, replaced by an expression of growing uncertainty. He opened his mouth to speak, but Rebecca's steady voice cut him off. "You do not know who I am," she said, holding her phone steady as she recorded him. "But I promise you, you will soon find out." The crowd's energy shifted. More voices began to rise, condemning the treatment Rebecca and her family were receiving. A man in a business suit stepped forward, saying loudly, "This is disgraceful. Let them go." Mike, now visibly uncomfortable, tried to regain control of the situation. "You are causing a scene," he said, his voice less confident. "If you do not leave now, we will make you leave." Rebecca stood her ground, her voice unwavering. "The only scene being caused is by you and your behavior," she said. "We will not leave. You can call the mall manager, or we will escalate this further." The guards hesitated, realizing they were losing control. The crowd had grown larger, and the majority were now vocal in their support of Rebecca. Camera phones flashed and recorded from every angle, capturing every word and action. Rebecca's children, though still scared, looked up at her with awe. They saw their mother standing tall against injustice, unafraid and resolute. As the guards faltered, unsure of what to do next, Rebecca knew the tide was turning. The stage was set for the truth to come to light, and the shocking twist that would change everything was about to unfold. The tension in the mall was thick. Rebecca stood her ground while the crowd grew larger. Phones were recording. Voices of support for Rebecca grew louder. But the guards were still trying to act as if they were in control. Mike spoke again. His voice was sharp. "We are asking you for the last time. Leave the mall or face the consequences." Rebecca looked at him calmly. Her voice was clear. "You still do not know who I am. Let me make this simple. I am not leaving. Instead, I am calling someone who can help clear up this misunderstanding." She reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. The crowd watched silently. Rebecca dialed a number. Everyone could hear her say, "Yes, this is Rebecca Morgan. I am at the mall, your mall, and I need you to come to the main entrance right now." Mike smirked again. He crossed his arms and said loudly, "Do you think anyone will come to save you? You are wasting your time." But Rebecca ignored him. She smiled slightly and turned to her husband, David. "They will see soon enough," she said quietly. The minutes felt like hours. The crowd murmured as everyone waited to see what would happen. The guards stood rigid. Mike tried to maintain his authority, but his confidence was fading. Finally, the sound of heels clicking on the polished mall floor cut through the tension. A woman in a sharp suit approached the group. Her expression was serious. Her presence demanded respect. The guards immediately straightened. Mike turned to face the newcomer. His tone was still confident. "Ma, we are handling a disturbance here. This family refuses to leave after being asked multiple times." The woman ignored Mike. Her gaze went straight to Rebecca. Her face softened as she approached. She extended her hand and said warmly, "Mrs. Morgan, I came as soon as I could. I am so sorry for this." The crowd gasped. The guards froze. Mike's smirk disappeared completely. Rebecca shook the woman's hand and replied calmly, "Thank you for coming. I believe there is a misunderstanding here that needs to be addressed." The woman nodded and turned to face the guards. Her voice was firm. "Do you know who this is?" she asked, gesturing toward Rebecca. Mike stammered, "No, we were just following procedure." They looked suspicious. The woman's eyes narrowed. "Suspicious? Let me educate you. Mrs. Rebecca Morgan is the owner of this mall. She is your employer. You are speaking to the person who pays your salary." The crowd erupted in shocked murmurs. Cameras zoomed in on Rebecca, who remained composed. The guards looked stunned. Mike opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. Rebecca stepped forward. Her voice was steady. "You judged us based on how we look. You embarrassed my family. You treated us like criminals. And all because of your bias." The woman in the suit addressed the guards again. "You will all report to my office immediately after this. Your actions today will have consequences." Mike's face turned pale. He finally muttered, I am sorry. I did not know." Rebecca held her head high. "You should not need to know who someone is to treat them with respect," she said firmly. The crowd erupted in applause. People shouted words of support for Rebecca. Her children, Mia and Jason, looked up at her with pride. The woman in the suit gestured toward the family. "Mrs. Morgan, please allow me to escort you and your family to the VIP lounge. You do not deserve this treatment." Rebecca nodded. As they walked away, the crowd parted to let them through. People continued to clap and cheer. The guards stood in stunned silence. Mike knew his career was in jeopardy. But more than that, he knew he had been exposed for his actions. Rebecca's quiet strength and dignity left an impression on everyone who witnessed the scene. It was a moment no one in that mall would forget. The events at the mall spread quickly. Videos of the confrontation were shared on social media. The hashtags Rebecca Morgan and malhonneur of security started trending within hours. People everywhere were shocked and inspired by Rebecca's calm strength. Comments poured in from all over the world. Some said, "This shows why we should never judge others by their appearance." Others wrote, "Rebecca is a queen. She handled this with so much class." The local news picked up the story. They aired the videos and invited Rebecca for an interview. Sitting confidently on the news desk, she explained what had happened. "I want people to understand that this is not just about me," she said. "This is about changing the way we treat one another. Judging someone based on how they look should never happen." Words resonated deeply with viewers. Many shared their own stories of facing discrimination. Others praised Rebecca for using her position to highlight such an important issue. The mall management team acted swiftly. The head of security released a public statement. "We are deeply sorry for the behavior of our staff. This does not reflect the values of our organization. Immediate action is being taken to ensure this never happens again." Mike, the lead guard, was suspended. The entire security team was required to undergo training on diversity and inclusion. Rebecca insisted on this. "Firing them is not enough," she said. "They need to learn and grow from this experience." Rebecca also took steps to ensure that her mall became a symbol of inclusion. She announced the creation of a program aimed at educating staff about unconscious bias. The program would include workshops, seminars, and regular evaluations. The community rallied behind her. Local activists reached out to collaborate on the program. Schools invited Rebecca to speak to students about respect and equality. People saw her as a leader, someone who could inspire meaningful change. Meanwhile, the guards who had mistreated her family faced public backlash. Mike, in particular, was called out by name on social media. At first, he tried to defend his actions. But as the criticism grew, he realized he had to take responsibility. Mike reached out to Rebecca through the mall's management team. He asked to meet her privately. Rebecca agreed, wanting to hear what he had to say. When they met, Mike's demeanor was completely different. He looked down as he spoke. "I am sorry," he said quietly. "I made assumptions. I was wrong. I want to learn from this." Rebecca listened carefully. Then she said, "It is not enough to apologize. You need to commit to being better. Are you ready to take that step?" Mike nodded. He agreed to attend the training sessions and volunteered to speak publicly about what he had learned. "If my story can stop someone else from making the same mistake," he said, "then I am willing to share it." The mall became a national example of change. Rebecca's actions inspired other businesses to evaluate their own policies and practices. The program she created was adopted by other malls and organizations across the country. Rebecca's children, Mia and Jason, were deeply impacted by the experience. They saw their mother stand tall in the face of injustice. "You taught us to never back down," Jason said one evening. Rebecca smiled and replied, "And I hope you will always stand up for what is right." The story of Rebecca Morgan and the mall incident became more than just a viral moment. It was a turning point for many. It showed that dignity and determination could spark change. Rebecca continued to use her platform to advocate for equality. She partnered with nonprofits and community leaders to promote diversity and inclusion in all areas of society. Her voice became a powerful force for progress. Even those who had initially doubted her motives came to respect her. "Rebecca showed us what leadership looks like," said one local resident. "She used her power to make things better for everyone." The mall flourished under Rebecca's ownership. It became known as a welcoming place for all people. Shoppers felt proud to support a business that stood for justice and equality. Rebecca's journey reminded everyone that change starts with one person. It takes courage to confront injustice. But when we stand together, we can create a better world. Rebecca Morgan decided that the events at her mall would not just end with an apology. She wanted to create lasting change. She called a press conference to address the incident. The room was filled with reporters and community leaders. Rebecca spoke calmly but with conviction. "This is not just about what happened to me and my family," she said. "This is about how we treat each other. It is about ensuring that no one feels judged or excluded because of how they look." The press conference aired on major news channels. People across the country were inspired by her words. They praised her for not only standing up for herself but also taking steps to make a difference. Rebecca announced the creation of the Mall of Inclusion Initiative. This program would focus on training all employees about diversity and respect. It would include workshops, role-playing exercises, and ongoing evaluations. "We cannot erase prejudice overnight," she explained. "But we can start by educating ourselves and making better choices." The community embraced her efforts. Schools and community centers invited her to speak. She shared her story and emphasized the importance of standing up against discrimination. Parents thanked her for inspiring their children. Rebecca also partnered with local activists and organizations. Together, they created campaigns to promote equality. These campaigns featured real stories from people in the community. They showed the power of kindness and understanding. Mike, the security guard who had wronged Rebecca's family, reached out to her. He asked for a chance to meet and apologize in person. Rebecca agreed. When they met, Mike looked nervous. He admitted that he had judged her family unfairly. "I was wrong," he said. "I let my biases guide me. I want to do better." Rebecca appreciated his honesty. "It takes courage to admit when you are wrong," she said. "But words are not enough. You have to show through your actions that you have learned." Mike agreed to participate in the Mall of Inclusion program. He also volunteered to speak at workshops about his experience. He hoped that his story would help others avoid making the same mistakes. Rebecca's initiative gained national attention. Other malls and businesses started adopting similar programs. Leaders from different industries reached out to learn from her approach. Her children, Mia and Jason, became inspired by her strength. "Mom, you taught us to never let anyone make us feel small," Mia said. Rebecca hugged her daughter and replied, "And you must always remember to lift others up too." Rebecca also set up a scholarship fund for young people from underserved communities. She wanted to give them the opportunities they deserved. "Education is the key to breaking down barriers," she explained. Over time, Rebecca's efforts transformed her mall into more than just a shopping center. It became a symbol of unity and progress. People from all walks of life felt welcome and respected there. The mall began hosting events to celebrate diversity. From cultural festivals to art exhibits, these events brought the community together. Rebecca made sure that everyone felt included. The guards who had worked with Mike also participated in the training. They admitted that the experience had opened their eyes. "We see things differently now," one of them said. "Rebecca gave us the chance to learn and grow." Rebecca's story inspired people far beyond her town. It showed that one person's determination could spark meaningful change. It reminded everyone that standing up for what is right can lead to a better future. As Rebecca looked back on the journey, she felt proud, not just for herself but for the community she had helped uplift. She knew there was still work to be done, but she believed in the power of unity and understanding. Rebecca's story became a beacon of hope. It taught people everywhere that they could make a difference. By standing together and choosing compassion, they could build a world where everyone felt valued. Rebecca Morgan's story spread far and wide. It was no longer just about her family. It became a symbol of resilience in the fight for equality. Her journey inspired people from all walks of life to reflect on their own actions and how they could contribute to a better society. As the mall continued to thrive under Rebecca's leadership, it became a place of unity. Families, friends, and neighbors came together to celebrate diversity. Visitors often stopped to admire the new artwork in the mall. A mural was painted by local artists showcasing the message everyone belongs. Rebecca often walked through the mall with her children, feeling a deep sense of pride. Mia and Jason learned valuable lessons from their mother. They understood the importance of standing up for what is right. "Mom, you made this place better for everyone," Jason said one day. Rebecca smiled and replied, "We did this together." This is what happens when people choose kindness over judgment. People in the community also changed. They started to pay closer attention to how they treated one another. Local schools invited Rebecca to share her story with students. She spoke about the importance of respect, equality, and understanding. Mike, the security guard, became an advocate for change. He used his own experience to teach others about the dangers of prejudice. "I made a mistake," he often said, "but I am committed to learning and making things right." His words encouraged others to confront their own biases. Rebecca's initiative, the Mall of Inclusion, continued to grow. It became a model for other businesses across the country. Leaders from different industries reached out to Rebecca for advice. They wanted to implement similar programs in their own workplaces. Rebecca was happy to help. She believed that change was possible when people worked together. At the end of her speeches, Rebecca always shared a powerful message. It is not enough to stand by and hope for change. We must take action. We must treat each other with kindness and respect. Every step we take, no matter how small, can make a difference. The story of Rebecca Morgan reminds us that courage and determination can create meaningful change. It shows that one person's actions can inspire an entire community. It teaches us that no matter the challenges, we can rise above them. What would you do in a situation like this? Have you ever faced or witnessed discrimination? Share your story in the comments. Let us know how you would stand up for what is right. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Together we can create a world where everyone is treated with fairness and dignity. Thank you for watching. See you in the next inspiring story.